Oh my gosh, we are live. Buckeye Nation is live right now. Floco, Florida Corey from the Scarlet and Great Empire here, just talking to y'all. What's going on with game day going on right now? Here with my good pal Shane Larson, the game time guru, the Boise Buckeye. How you
What's
doing,
going on?
Shane?
I'm doing great, man. Excited to be here for another pregame chat. So, guys, jump in. Let us know. We're going to give you a couple of minutes to roll in here so we can get some conversation started. But, Corey, we were just talking about it right before the show. Like, game day is great, man. You got to love it, especially the early part of the game. I'm over here on the West, so it's even earlier for me, but I just love the whole feel of, like, okay, we're about to get rolling with game day for Buckeye football. Let's go.
If we had to put our little metaphorical hat on, who's going to win today? I think we're all wearing our hats right now. Buckeyes are going to win big against Maryland, we feel.
So
21 and a half point favorites right now.
Are they? Okay, so we'll chat about that in a little bit. It was funny you mentioned the hat, though. I'm literally wearing a ClickFunnels hat as my employer because I couldn't find my Buckeyes hat. I was scrambling around trying to get everything before we got started here. So kind of frustrated by that. But I apologize. We are, metaphorically speaking, we're all wearing our Buckeyes hats. Let's go.
Man, you just failed us all. The game's doomed now. Guys. In about a little less than an hour, we got, well, let's be honest, 11:04, probably an hour and a half, the way these games go. Ohio State, Maryland, Columbus today. I got friends going up to the game today. I wanted to join them. I wish I could have. Shane, I know you wish you could be there as well. Obviously, we all want to catch a game in Columbus. I've never caught one live in Columbus. I've been to a spring game, and that's it. And for some fans out there, that means that I'm not a good enough Buckeye fan. I understand. But anyway, for any of the if you see the ticker on there, it says 3,500 subs by October 30th. Like and comment on the video. We are looking to get 3,500 subscriptions to their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Go Bucks, by October 30th, the Penn State game. We're getting closer. We're moving in. We're inching that way there. We appreciate all the love and support, guys. But today, for right now, we're going to be talking about Ohio State, Maryland, the things we want to see going into today. We want to build off what we've been doing for the last three games, right? I mean, Tulsa didn't look great at times. It finished okay. There was maybe some small improvements we were all arguing about. CJ Stroud had his worst game as a Buckeye, and many people were calling for him to be benched. He didn't get benched, but he did rest the next week because of a shoulder injury. Kyle McCord came in, looked pretty good against Akron. Again, it was Akron. How do you know? The defense looked vastly improved again against Akron. How do you know? 59-7, I believe it was, with a defensive touchdown. Ronnie Hickman pick six, who's looking like a new star, by the way. We'll get back into that in here in a minute. And then, of course, they played Rutgers at Rutgers in New Jersey. I'm sorry they had to go to New Jersey, but it is what it is. Anyway, just kidding for all you New Jersey Buckeyes out there. They, unexpectedly pummeled Rutgers, you could say. I mean, let's be honest, it was a little unexpected, right? So it was 52-6 at one point in the fourth quarter. The second half they let the foot off the gas. They just basically we can score anytime we want, but we're just going to basically play a lot of backups, get some good valuable. We haven't had that in a year and a half where we just get good valuable game reps for our backups.
Right.
So now that brings us to today against Maryland, another Big Ten opponent. Not a Big Ten opponent you necessarily fear very often, but they do have some strengths. Shane, have you watched Maryland at all this year?
I have caught just a few highlights of them because I was trying to get a little bit of a view of what we were going to see this year on them, this week specifically. And, a little bit of misdirection. They have the ability to make some big plays. They get you out in space, try to get you open. They try to open you up, a little misdirection, try to keep you disciplined with your eyes. But nothing that they've done has really stood out to me as like, oh, this is a trap game.
Yeah, I agree, and especially the way they got pummeled by Iowa. I don't know, maybe they were looking ahead to us a little bit. I just
Possibly.
Iowa beat the tar out of them. Iowa looks good though this year. I'm not going to take anything away from them. They look really good. Their defense is great, and their offense is good enough. I would say good enough, but I mean, it looks like if we make it to the Big Ten title game, we're going to be facing Iowa. It looks like in the West, unless they just stumble, which is possible. It's a France team; you never know. Anyway, that being said, but Maryland's the opponent today. That's who we got to look for. Anyway, and I agree with what Ed said, that today's one more piece of the puzzle. I like that. I like the way that's phrased because it's not an end-all be-all game. It's not and now granted we lose somehow, that's it for the season, but that being said, it's not end-all be-all as far as what the team will be in November, in December, and maybe into January. So yes, it is one more piece of the puzzle. So what are we looking for? We want to see, I think we both agree, Shane, we want to start out by seeing CJ Stroud continuing to build off of what he did last week. Now, you've been a CJ believer this entire time. You, and Johnny have kind of. It's funny. Johnny was the polar opposite of you, and I was in between a little bit. So it was really the great mix of opinions there when me, and Johnny would talk about it. I was ready to see somebody else after Tulsa because that game was brutal to watch from a quarterback play standpoint. But CJ, hey, who could argue he looked great last week, right?
He looked great. And the thing is, Corey, is he looked great and he's playing on the road. And I made this comment this last week. I want to see how he does at home. I feel like I think everybody was just so like Buckeye Nation, typically speaking, is I guess they're just very hard on everybody. The expectations here are very high. So I felt bad for the kid. He had one of the toughest first 2 games you could probably ask a brand new quarterback to have at his age and his lack of experience. And I just thought everybody was a little harsh on him, plus an injury, if it's true, to his shoulder, which, you know, I was just like, come on, give him some credit, give him some time. And he did great last week. But the thing is, I want to see how he does at home. I feel like the Buckeyes, for some reason, play worse at home than they do on the road. And maybe it's the pressure. Some people say, oh, well, it's always way more pressure when you're on the road. Well, I actually don't think so. I think it's more pressure when you're at home because you have the expectations of your fan base that are extremely high, coming off, you know, what we had last year and the years prior. And so I want to see how he does. I'm excited to see if he continues to roll here at home. I think it's going to be an important game, though. But yeah, I do think they feel the pressure on their shoulders when they're at home. I think it's a little bit more.
I think that's a fair point. I mean, especially in front of the fan base. Now, granted, you should feel more comfortable at home at least because you know the area, the field, you know you know it more. But again, I can understand the pressure of the fan, especially this fan base. I mean, I do think majority of Buckeye fans are good fan base, right? There are those that are very loud in the minority that like to sometimes get a little harsh on our players, unfortunately. And you always try to remember, man, I'm getting blown up with text right now. Always try to remember.
That's probably me.
Oh my gosh. I was just like, it's just constant beep, beep. Anyway. Yeah, Johnny. What's up, gay boys? Yeah, you wish, Johnny. Anyway, that being said, we just got canceled. I know it. Anyway, that being said, I do think that if I'm going to expect CJ to play good anywhere, it's going to be at home. But he actually, showed out against Rutgers. But let me ask you, Shane, what about the comment Ryan Day kind of made after he had a great game against Rutgers? Remember, he said something like that week off was like it wasn't necessarily about his injury. I mean, yes, he was injured, but it was about time for reflection to see if he really wanted this. What do you take from that comment, Shane?
I think we're looking too much into it. I think that's the thing. I don't know what's going on in the locker room. And that's what I'm trying to figure. Ryan Day knows what's happening. And he's trying not to give Buckeye Nation or the media too much to roll with. So what he does is he makes these blanket statements that are cryptic and you're just trying to figure him out. I don't know. Ryan Day's a weird cat, man. I try to figure him out. Here's this. I want to ask the rest of the guys listening in on this. What do you guys think? Throw us a comment in here and let us know what you think of Ryan Day's comments. And Corey, what are your thoughts, bro? I want to know your thoughts.
I think, okay, here's my opinion. This is uneducated. This is this is just a fan opinion. I think CJ was pretty much ordained to be the starter from spring on. And I think maybe he started to take that for granted a little bit. I mean, it was everybody. I mean, Ryan Day could say whatever he wanted to say, but it was still a competition. But everybody in the fan base felt it was. I mean, every writer, beat writer, it's CJ. And I just kind of wonder if maybe he just started to take that a little bit, a little for granted, and maybe he, once adversity hit, he wasn't quite ready for that. Because I mean, even in the Oregon game where he probably felt he did a good job, and he did. He was, overall 16-17 during a stretch in the Oregon game where he played really well. The negativity starts to creep in a little bit. Man, I threw for 484 yards. Yeah, we lost, but why am I the villain here? Type of thing.
That's the whole pressure of the fan base on your shoulders. Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe they had to. Part of why they sat him wasn't necessarily just the injury. Now, he needed to sit for the injury, but I don't know if a shoulder heals that quickly in 1 week because he looked great against Rutgers. But anyway, that being said, do you think it's part of it like, hey, you need to – is this what you want to do? Do you want to be the guy? Do you understand what it is to be the quarterback at Ohio State? This isn't your high school in California where you weren't even that well known for a long time. You are literally one of the most watched players in college football right now because you are the quarterback of Ohio State. So I think that had to be a huge adjustment, especially for like a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah, and the thing is with that, I think that was a huge thing for him though, because you're right. He needed to show him like, this is what it's going to be. Like, it's not going to change. You're going to have these, and you're young, but it's not going to change. And I think once reality set in for CJ, maybe that's why like he's like, okay, this is what I have to do. Now we're going to see what he really can do. Now we're really going to see what CJ can do when he knows, all right, it's not like, oh, this is temporary. No, for the duration of your career, as long as you're playing at Ohio State University, this is what you're going to deal with. I think that's smart of Ryan Day to say that. The thing is, I don't know. I think CJ's doing just fine, but Ryan knows more than we do. So maybe he was seeing those pressures that he was feeling. He could sense that CJ was just not ready quite yet. And he was just needed to get a little bit of a oomph and put a reality check into him. So I think that might have been what was happening there.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Ed just said, Ryan marks his words carefully. He's definitely saying that. I think that's right. I think it's really dead on take. Ryan Day doesn't necessarily just give coach speak. I mean, there's times maybe he may disguise what he's saying, but you can kind of read between the lines with him, right? I mean, he'll never criticize a player, but I think sometimes, I mean, Urban Meyer sometimes would come out and just flat out criticize a guy.
Yeah, straight up.
But I don't think Ryan Day wants to do that, at least not at 42 or whatever he is right now. I think there will come a point when he's in his 50s, he's just, I don't care anymore. But right now he's still in that young coach's stage where I don't want to criticize my guys openly because they're not being malicious in their intent.
Right.
It's just that CJ probably got more than he bargained for and chewed off a little bit more than he, bit off more than he could chew. I'm sorry, is the actual phrase there. But I was getting close. I was like pulling a Michael Scott for a second. How the turntables. But anyway, that being said, I wonder if like last week the game became fun again for CJ.
Right. You could tell he was having fun. That's a great way to put it. He was having fun doing what he does. Like that was like, okay, all right, let's go. We're good. And that's why I think that's where Justin Fields was good. That's where Haskins was good. When they were having fun, they were letting it fly. They were playing free. They were playing open. That's when Buckeye football is fun to watch because they're dangerous. They're dangerous, man.
Last two games have been a lot of fun to watch for Ohio State, especially. But you know what makes it more fun? CJ's partner in crime, right? I mean, is Trevion going to put up big numbers today, or will he sit out the second half because we're way ahead? So that's something you got to wonder, right? Look, I mean, I don't mean to move on to another position because I think CJ, we hope to see him continue to stroll and improve and look like the quarterback we know he can be, because he's obviously very talented. That's not the issue with him. And we hope he's healthy. But Trevion has been now, don't get me wrong, is he a surprise this season? Not necessarily, because he was a top running back recruit in the country. Everybody knew he was blazing fast. Everybody knew he was extremely talented. We just didn't know how quickly he would catch on. That was the debate. Like, when will he be a starter? Well, game 3. Right. So whoever had that on your bingo card, congratulations to you. I thought it'd be much later. So it is what it is. But that being said, Trevion, every game seems to have a big play. Every time he gets the ball, you think, oh my gosh, there's a crease. That safety better get over there quick, because that's going to be over.
My favorite thing about him is his vision so far, being young, and what you usually see with these young guys is they're about a half a step slow to each hole, or they're not seeing the play develop. He's seeing Corey the play develop way before, like he is way ahead of his game in his age, because he's seeing, okay, here's the crease, cut, boom, and you're gone. But he knows where the second and third line of defense is going to be, and so that's what makes him so difficult to guard, because that's why he's getting those 9 yards of carry, because he's seeing it happen right before it even happens, and it's like, wow, we have something special here, guys. But I got a question to throw back at you, and I'd love to hear from the fans too. Is there a question about his durability being young? Because some people say, yeah, like when you're young, coming into a big-time program like this, taking hits from big-time athletes, that's why they struggle to have this durability for a big time program. Do you think it has more with him just trying to get used to the feel of the game? Because I think we've seen enough to where he can handle it, but is it his durability? Is that an issue? Is that a concern at all?
He is getting dinged up a little bit in these games, isn't he?
With what, less than 10 carries a game? So that's what I want Buckeye Nation to talk about, right? Like if you're taking less than 10 carries a game and you're coming out there bruising, it's actually affecting your performance, then you might not, as much as it pains me to say that, we might not be fully ready for a full-time load of carries yet. It might have to be a running back by committee for a minute until Travion can, build that strength up and be able to take those hits, because that is a big part of the game. Like you've got to be able to take shots all game. If you're doing 20 plus carries a game,
plus catches, he's a good receiver out of the backfield. So 100%. He could be getting 28 touches a game, if he's going to be that full-time guy, plus blocking.
100%.
But the good thing is, we don't have Man Williams today. The rumor is he's got a concussion and he's had to have 2 weeks protocol. I don't know. Maybe he really hurt himself and they're being cautious with him. It's too bad not to have Williams because he's really just a fun young guy to watch. But
he's a fun guy.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I mean, he's such a great underdog story. I hope he comes back soon. Master Teague's been looking good though. I mean, so he'll be the primary backup with Crowley probably mixed in there a little bit.
I like Crowley. I just want to say that real quick. I love Teague, but I like Crowley's style. I just like how he's a little bit more agile. He's like a wiggle worm. He's a little bit, I don't know, for some reason, Teague he looks like what I would look like if I was trying to run the ball. Just stiff and I'm
gonna be honest with you. If you guys both had your shirts on, you wouldn't look like Master Teague.
Hey, come on now. Give me a little bit of credit here.
You're in good shape, man, but Teague's a freak.
He's a monster. I know. I got to give him more credit than that.
I'm just messing with you anyway, but no, I do agree. Teague's a little stiff, but he's been a serviceable backup. I mean,
you're right.
He hasn't been a guy you would want to count on for 25 carries a game. But that being said, I think every time he has the ball, he's actually doing pretty well overall. I mean, none of those 1 yard gains where it should have been a 5, 6, 7 yard gain that I've seen. He's actually cutting up field a lot better this year than he has in the past.
Yes,
still a little bit weak around the ankles, but. When your stiff breeze goes by his ankles, he just flops to the ground. That always frustrated me about him for being a guy that strong, but it is what it is. Sometimes balance is a bit of an issue for guys that top heavy. But that being said, without Man and with the fact that Travion needs to have a limited amount of carries, because you're right, he's getting dinged up a little bit here and there. We have options. Teague and Crowley are nice options to go to, especially against Maryland.
Yeah,
I really can't see Maryland shutting Teague or Crowley down, especially not Henderson. So this is another game where Henderson gets 10 to 12 carries and they kind of rest him a little bit and say, okay, we're good.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Look to him getting 12 carries would probably be about right, unless this is the day where he's like, hey, let's get you flying. Because we got some big games in the future. We got to make sure you're ready to rock and roll. And that could be the case. I don't know. Ryan Day is like a chess player and he's just the master at that. And he throws me for a loop every once in a while, but I think you're about to see 12 carries or so, probably average about 8 or 9 yards and a big play here and there. But I would love to see Travion just get the full load, man. Eventually. I just hope he can get to that point.
I think he will. I mean, he's 18 years old, 19 years old, whatever he is. He's a lot bigger than I thought he was coming out of high school. Not to mention we got to talk about this. Remember, he didn't play high school football last year.
Good
so his
point.
body's probably readjusting to the actual game reps and actually taking a beating. And they probably got him ahead of schedule right now from what they thought he would be. But the nice thing about Henderson is that we get him for at least 2 more years.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, huh?
I mean, this is the difference between Ryan Day and Urban Meyer. And I think a lot of people criticized Urban a lot because he wouldn't play the younger guys as much. Ryan Day is like, if you're good, I'm putting you out there. And he's more than proving it this year, especially. Henderson starting game 3 to me was a mind-boggling. I was like, I'm so used to Ohio State sticking with senior guys as long as they possibly can. And I'm okay with loyalty, but at the same time, it's loyal to a fault becomes an issue. And you can't keep Henderson off the field, man. I mean, let's go Coach Shane Larson, okay? You're the head coach of Ohio State. You got this guy named Travion Henderson, and you want to be loyal to because these are personal relationships these coaches have with these players. We always forget that as fans. There's the personal aspect to it, and they want to be loyal to these kids who've done everything they've asked. But you got a guy like Travion Henderson come in, and he's clearly the best, most talented running back you have. How do you handle that situation, man, where you – look, Teague, I know it's your time, but this dude's a different dude.
And this could be me being cold-hearted, but like that's sports, you know what I mean? And that's sports at the highest level. And to your point earlier, I do what I would put him in there and say, hey, we've got some talent coming in here. You better up your game. And I think it has, to your point about Teague and the way he's been running, it might have upped his game, bringing him in here and saying like, look at this talent. But that's always a tough discussion if you're a coach, if you're a manager, whatever it is. Like you got the young talent coming in, but you got to be realistic with the players that are there. Being like, hey, you understand the game, but this is your time to be a leader, not just on the field, but like how to be a college athlete, how to be a student athlete, how to do these things, like all the little things. But also keep in mind, if you want to keep your playing time, keep your reps, understand this cat's like coming up here and he's going to put a show on. So you better up your game. And I think as long as you're upfront and honest, if I was a coach, I'm upfront and honest with my players saying, hey, here's what we've got. Here's the reality in the future of this program. So you got to earn it. So long as you do that and there's no subtle like changes where they're surprised, I think you're good, man.
Yeah, I think as long as the coaches bring him in the office face to face and say, look, I love you. You've done everything I've asked. You're going to get snaps, but this guy is too good to keep off the field. Especially a guy like Master Teague, who's just, by all accounts, a class person, great guy, and very understanding. And probably sat and said, "Look, I understand that dude's unreal. You can't keep him off." And that makes Teague, in my opinion, a natural leader. Probably somebody that even the young running backs who may even be more talented than Teague look up to because they see the sacrifice he's making to say, look, I'm not the starter this year. I'm not going to get as many carries. It's not going to be my year. But these guys are, but I'm willing to sacrifice and lay down for my brothers to see guys like him. And don't get me wrong, Teague is obviously a competitor. He wants to play. That's not saying that he's not. But, he's got the maturity level to say, look, this guy's just too good to keep out the field. The coaches have explained it to me. And I don't know if we know anything about Tony Alford, who also, by all accounts, is a great character person. I'm sure he had no problem sitting Teague down and saying, look, I hate to do this, but this guy's got to play.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's the nature of the game. I mean, every school has to deal with it. I mean, look at, Alabama had it with their quarterbacks when Tua came in. It was the same conversation, I'm sure. And the greatest coaches have to deal with that because you're getting the greatest athletes. And the reality is you got 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense. I once talked to Brian Harsin, former coach of Boise State, but now is over at Auburn. And when I asked Harsin this question, it was a similar question what you just asked me, Corey. I was at a meeting and I said, hey, during the Kellen Moore era, let's flashback. If you guys ever remember Kellen Moore, college quarterback for Boise State, he lost 3 games by a total of like 5 points during his career. So anyways, at Boise State, I said, hey, how do you talk to quarterbacks that come into the system and like they know that like, hey, they're probably not going to play while Kellen Moore's here because Kellen Moore is, whether they're older or younger, they're not going to play. Kellen Moore was the guy. And so unless he gets hurt, barring injury, whatever, what do you do? How do you handle that as a coach? And he discussed, like, he said the same thing, 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense. And most of those guys that are on each one of those sides are returners. So you really you're limited on so many spots. And then you've got special teams, which sometimes you can bring some new guys in, but some of those guys transfer over to special teams, defense, offense, whatever. And so you have limited spots available for everybody. And that's just the reality. Some guys will never set foot on the field. Some guys will be pushing. And he said, the one thing you have to do as a good coach is try to get everybody to buy into the mission of the team, which when you get good athletes and dudes who were studs in high school and you've got these great recruiting classes, well, then you see pride comes into effect and you got to teach these young men how to put their pride aside and like do something for the betterment of the team, even if that means you might not set foot on the field at all, or you might get limited reps. And so I guess it just comes down to how does Ryan Day control the locker room? And that's getting everybody, including the coaching staff, as well as his players that are stud athletes across the country, to buy into the mission of the entire team.
Yeah, completely agree. I think Jody Swisher Sweet is updating us. The line has moved that dramatically within an hour. Wow. Okay. I don't know. It was 21.5 about an hour ago. So
what do they know that we don't know? Jody, tell us some deets here, Jody, because what are they seeing?
It can't be a quarterback situation because I don't think it would change just because Kyle McCord was playing or something. So now that being said, yeah, I agree. And before we move on to the second or the other side of the ball, I do want to let's answer that question that was brought up here. Who gets more yards today, Olave or Wilson, in your mind?
Olave.
I'm going to go Wilson.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
We're split on that. I think Olave, but
that's it.
Well, I want to know.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
We can't just say the names. I want to know why. Like, what do you think the scheme's going to be that will get Wilson those additional yards over?
I think the crossing patterns will get Wilson the yards after the carry, things like that. I think Wilson's just been more of a I don't want to say complete receiver than Olave. I mean, I love Olave. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big Olave fan. Olave has been adding to his game the yards after the catch. I think Wilson's already pretty much there when he gets the ball in his hands. Especially that's why they run a little jet sweep with him at times, is because he's such a good runner. I just think I think Wilson will be targeted more today. I don't know what I think he has bigger route tree than Olave. I don't know. That's kind of, it's just a gut feeling beyond that.
I could see that. And in fact, as you're talking, I'm like thinking of like, okay, get Wilson the ball. They do a lot of screen passes or quick little hitches, get him the ball and let him kind of move a little bit, get 4 or 5 yards extra. Olave gets the big plays from time to time, but it's also due to his, like, he breaks the tackle and takes it upfield and stuff. So you might be right.
Well, Wilson also plays a slot. He plays the X, not the X. I'm sorry. He plays the Y. He plays. I mean, he's. I'm getting my alphabet mixed up here, but he plays everything.
He plays the M, the letter M. You know, I'm just kidding. No, he's a more versatile player for sure. And to be honest, Olave. The reason I said Olave is because he's kind of underperformed in my opinion this year. He's had some big drops that I have mentioned multiple times that I think was huge for Stroud's confidence. Big time drops that were right in his hands. Anyway, to that point, I thought today might be a breakout game for him because he's had some big moments too that were huge for us as well. And I just thought maybe Olave might have himself a big game this time.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's Ruckert. Who knows?
You never know.
out of nowhere. Well, I think the biggest thing that, and in my opinion, what I want to see more than anything is I want to see this defense continue to improve. That's for me. Look, they were obviously putrid at the beginning of the year, right? And I don't mean like they were just bad. They were just otherworldly. What sense does this make type bad? And I can't take it anymore, Shane. I got to have a decent defense at Ohio State. I don't mean they don't have to be a elite in the sense of Georgia's elite right now, right? Their defense is elite right now. I don't need them to be that crazy good. They just have to be in that 20 to 30 respectable range. Like, okay, they're solid enough. They can get you to a championship. Because what the offense we have, it's just been so putrid and bad at times through the last year and a half. It doesn't make a lick of sense. And it's frustrating to watch as a fan because I grew up with Ohio State having good defense all the time, especially in the Tressel era. They were very good defensively.
100%. Now, listen to this. So I think they're improving. I think we can all agree that they're improving, especially on the front line. When you simplify a defense, we've discussed this before, Corey, like they're like paper people. Like if you ever watch a dog try to like catch a ball, like you put a ball in front of his face, he like can't do it because he's got paws. That's what it reminds me of with Ohio State. Like their defensive linemen, they're like paper people. They can't do anything. They can't get through anybody. They don't know how to get off blocks. But when they simplified everything, okay, this last game you even saw they're getting pressure. Just simplify the game and just play with some heart. So. Yeah. And people think, oh, well, you have to bring blitzes, which I thought we were going to have to do constantly to get pressure, but no, you don't. Just a few technique things and get the right rotations, get the right guys who want to play. I will liken this to the Dallas Cowboys. I apologize for going over here, but it's the same concept. Dallas is depleted. We got DeMarcus Lawrence goes out. Oh, he's the best rusher. No, he's not. Okay, he's the biggest paid rusher. He's one of our better players, but then he goes out, and then the Cowboys come out there. They change their scheme. They're getting to the quarterback all game because they get the guys in the right places, and it's all about effort and it's about technique. Ohio State's in a similar situation. You can see them improving on the front line, which ultimately helps your young secondary. Okay, obviously that's common sense, but I just want people to understand, like when you're leaving your young secondary out there to dry, when the quarterback has literally no, you don't have to get a sack on a guy, but if you're just standing there and you literally just have a clean pocket and you can just throw four seconds in the pocket, you don't understand how hard that is for a second. That's an eternity for a secondary to try to cover guys at this level, this caliber of athlete, right? If you can just get some pressure up the middle, make the quarterback maybe step off his rhythm, go to the right for 2 steps, well, then that shortens the field automatically. It's not going to always end up in your favor, but that helps the defense so much, and that's what we're seeing. If you continue to get these guys to play with some effort and play to their caliber, we know how good they are. It's like for some reason they didn't have the confidence. Now I think they've seen what works, and we're going to see them continue to roll. But I'd like to know what happens with everybody else. What did Scott say here?
Scott's asking if we think we can cause turnovers today. I think we absolutely can because our defense is getting more adept at causing them. And Tua, I think, threw 4 picks last week. Something he threw. Iowa's defense. I mean, granted, Iowa's defense is a different animal than Ohio State's, but we are starting to see more turnover. I think we saw 3 interceptions last week against Rutgers, against a guy in Noah Vedral who hadn't thrown a pick all season, even against Michigan. Right. So I think we picked him up 3 times. I know Burke got a pick 6. Ryan Watts got a deep pass pick. I can't. I think was a linebacker got another one. Yeah, Tommy Eichenberg got one.
Yep.
And that was caused, by the way, by pressure, as Shane just brought up.
What a thing.
I know. Tyleik Williams, or Tylenol Williams, as Johnny Bullitt likes to call him. First of all, who thought in a class of JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, Michael Hall, that Tyleik Williams might be the most dominant of the 4 in the defensive line recruiting class? He has been spectacular, leading the team in sacks, no less, with 4 sacks from the defensive nose tackle spot, because he's 350 and 320 pounds. I mean, Ryan Day said it early in spring. This guy's so athletic for his size, it's unreal. He's almost looking pro-ready already.
Right.
I mean, God, just what a great steal in the recruiting class he's been. And he's caused pressure to get that Ryan Watts interception, I believe it was. The Denzel Burke one was just great because we stifled the passing lane on the slant there in the RPO, and he overthrew him, and Burke was just sitting there. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the Eichenberg one was Harrison. Zach Harrison caused pressure to get it, to float the ball up there and get so 2 of the 3 interceptions that I know, I can't remember for sure if the first one was caused by pressure or not, but it looked like a quick hitch, and he just didn't see the passing lane was blocked. But
and sometimes, though, Corey, you don't even have to have pressure as long as you get in the quarterback's head. We know that. Like sometimes Stroud, right? He was throwing high, like in certain situations. If you can just make the quarterback think, and I know that sounds so stupid and kind of rude, but if you can make them think, if they have to think more than what they already have to think about right in that play, it's a split-second thing, and they can make the wrong decision. That's all you got to do is just get a little pressure on them. And then the last thing I wanted to say on this too, I talked about it last night when I was covering high school football. If you're not going to get to the quarterback, put your hands up so you make the passing lane that much harder. I don't understand why that is such a hard concept for defensive linemen. If I'm a defensive lineman coach, I am telling them, if you can't get to the quarterback and you know he's already hit his 3-step or his 5-step and he's about to let it fly, you put your hands up. These dudes are like 6'2", 6'5", whatever. Put your arms up. You're going to deflect passes. You're going to make things happen, and you're going to make the quarterback think, and you're going to cause turnovers. So if they can get their hands up, even if they don't get pressure, Corey, put your hands up, get some deflections, or make it a harder passing window. Boom, we've got turnovers all day.
Yeah, especially if that's just a different, another way you can get into the head of the quarterback. Just making every little thing harder. You have to think about every little thing. Okay, I have to throw sidearm here. Okay, I have to watch for Tyleik Williams' hands in the passing lane on the slant. It's like just every little thing you got to think about becomes less about instinct for the quarterback, less about all those repetitions he's done in practice. It becomes more about I have to adjust on the fly, which means more chances for turnovers, more chances for mistakes, right? And our defense is becoming better at that the last couple of weeks. We're doing the little things to cause these turnovers. We're fine. I mean, not to mention the coverages are just getting better. I mean, Ross Fulton from Buckeye Scoop went on a big dissertation as to why coverages are getting better. We're starting to mix different things up in the cover 2, which I'm so glad to see. I know Ryan Day doesn't like the cover 2. A lot of people don't think the cover 2 is very popular. I'm glad we at least have it in our arsenal now. So we can switch from you can disguise a single high really well with a cover 2 very easily. The way we position the bullet and the way we position the cover safeties, the more you add to their arsenal and coverage scheme, is more chances for mistakes for the quarterback to just not recognize things correctly, not know what's going on before the play. Instead of calling simple cover 1, cover 3 every play, and the quarterback begins to pick up on tendencies, the quarterback begins to pick up on what you're doing on every down and distance, and not have to think as much. We did that with Anthony Brown, unfortunately, with Oregon. Now you're making the quarterback have to think a lot more, on top of blocking passing lanes, on top of getting your hands up, on top of guys getting home every now and again. So there's just a million different things we're doing a little better to cause more turnovers and to cause more grief for the quarterback.
Do you think, I'm going to play the devil's advocate here because I know there's probably fans who are asking the same question, though. Do you think, Corey, by disguising cover, because at the beginning of the season, I'm like, dude, we're too dumb. We're too dumb to be doing. We've got to just keep it basic because they can't figure out the simple things you learn in high school, bringing one of the safeties up almost as a linebacker and then dropping them out in covers. You'd think that's just a super common thing, but they can't figure it out. And so I almost wondered if trying to disguise was too complicated for our defense? Or do you think we've grown enough to where now we know where we're at because our defensive line has stepped up, our front seven has stepped up to where they can get pressure on the quarterback? Do you think we're in a spot where we should be good to disguise those coverages?
I think we're getting there if we're not there already.
Yeah, okay.
I think the last few games, I'm not going to say we're a finished product because we haven't had a true big test yet. But the fact is, I mean, there was a time with our defense, it didn't matter who the opponent was, they could move the ball on us. It just didn't matter. And it's Ross Fulton said it best. It's like we've advanced from being a terrible defense to at least an average defense as to what all of college football is doing. And that's, I mean, do you credit Matt Barnes for that? You credit Ryan Day for that? There's one thing about Matt Barnes right now that's kind of bugging me, not him himself, but I'm still seeing a lot of Buckeye fans. Okay, look, I don't know if he's the answer or not. I don't, because it's been 3 games. One was kind of, and then the last 2 were great, but against, mediocre competition at best. And so you don't have a finished product with him. You don't know what you have with him yet, but he could be the answer. Maybe he is. I mean, that's the point. I want to see what he does the rest of the season. To me, it's pretty cut and dry. He's the guy right now. Give him to the rest of the season to prove himself. But there's people still out there talking like, well, we have to go hire a big name next year. If we keep Matt Barnes, we're going to be stuck on the same issue. And it's like, what do you mean? How do you know that? How can you possibly know? I'm not saying he's the answer because I don't know, but how do you know he's not the answer?
Yeah, we have a small sample size, and we're going to wait and see what's going on with that. I think people have to also realize, Corey, that as a coach as well, there's a difference between calling a game in the box and calling the game down on the field. You don't see the game the same. And there's a difference between, like, you've got a lot that goes into it. I think Matt Barnes has done a phenomenal job with his pregame, like, preparation. I think putting his schemes in place pregame. And then now we're going to have to see how he does in game. Like Ryan Day, we already know Ryan Day is one of the best coaches at halftime adjustments. Well, how do you adjust in game to certain things? Because you've prepared all week for this, and now you have to adjust because maybe an injury or their scheme's they're beating you, right? And so you have to adjust. I think this is where we'll see. I love that you said that. Like, just let us have a little bit more of a sample size, and as we get further in the season, we play better competition. We're really going to see that. But I think he's in the perfect timing for that shift, putting Coombs back up there and putting him on the field, so that he can have these little sample sizes before we hit those big games. And we'll see. But yeah, people shouldn't be like jumping off the board already. Like, there's no reason for that. We got to wait and see, and we'll figure that out later. But I want to answer this question real quick. Who starts at center? I saw Scott had this, and we posted this up here. I was reading from Cleveland.com. I got to give credit to the author here. I believe it's Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com. All he said on the center situation was Miller played some snaps at left guard against Rutgers. Day said he would be eased back into action, so it's unclear whether he, Jones, or walk-on Toby Wilson would fill in for Whippler if needed. So we don't know if it's Miller, if it's Whippler, or whatever's going on. So just so you know,
I guess it would be Whippler after starting the whole season so far. Right. I gotta believe it would be Whippler. They got to have some level of comfort with him, I would imagine. I'm not saying they don't like Harry Miller, but I think easing him back makes sense. Maybe give him a few snaps here and there, but Whippler's been pretty dependable this entire season, and he's got a lot of great reps for growth this year.
Totally.
And the offensive line's been pretty good overall. Not perfect, but I mean, look, our running game is humming. Our offense is averaging 8.5 yards per play. That's leading the nation, I think. So how do you make a change in the offensive line right now?
Right, exactly. I'm with you on that.
Although I didn't think they would put DeJuan Jones at right tackle to mess with that, so I was wrong there. I mean, who knows? But I thought they would like to keep the bookend tackles where they were, and because they work so well. But Nicholas Petit-Frere is having a great all Big Ten type year at left tackle so far. Munford's filled in great. Okay, so Scott's updating us. Still a 21.5 point favorite. Okay, so anyway, and that being that 10 point or whatever point 9.8 point drop. Corey, math, jeez, it didn't make any sense to me, but That being said, Nick, I hope he does. But going back to the defense, I know Ryan Day loves Matt Barnes. He's a huge Matt Barnes fan. That's a fact. It's not debatable. He loves Matt Barnes. I think Matt Barnes got that electric personality about him. He's got a lot of Hafley in him in that personality. I'm not saying he's Jeff Hafley as a D coordinator, though. As much as I love Jeff Hafley as a coach, let's be real. He had a plethora of talent that year he coached. It was absurd, the talent level on the defensive side of the ball. In fact, some of the underrated talent. And Jordan Fuller goes extremely underrated in Ohio State history as a safety. But I mean, he had the monster Chase Young, but who's not. I don't think he's having a great year with Washington yet. So
he's doing all right.
He doesn't have a sack yet.
No, but he's doing all right, dude. That team's a disaster, so it's a dumpster fire over there. But he is actually causing some problems. I'm worried about them as a Cowboys fan. Just as an FYI.
Gotcha. All right. Well, you would know more. You're NFC East guy.
Jersey right now, so I got to.
That's cool. All right. We'll call it Dobbins if Young stinks. No. Feel bad for Dobbins, by the way. Getting ACL. Speedy recovery, buddy. Anyway, that being said, we had Chase Young, Jeff Okudah, Damon Arnett, Sean Wade at his good position, Jordan Fuller, Malik Harrison. You just had a stupid amount. Devon Hamilton's an underrated player on that team. A ton of talent. And I think Hafley partly left because he's realized it's a huge drop off the next year. His star will fall a little bit, and he might not get the head coaching opportunity immediately like he wanted. So he had to jump on it. But that being said, I made that excuse for Coombs for an entire year. And then we go into this year. I'm like, okay, you've had an off season now, buddy. There's no COVID protocol here. You're allowed to coach your players up, and it's time to go. And then the defense statistically got worse. And Matt Barnes, to me, whenever I hear him talk, I just get that Hafley impression.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder if he's a young gun guy who has never been given a real chance to be a D coordinator. Finally, this is his opportunity, and all of a sudden he can just take it and run with it. Look, that's it. That's how America works in a lot of ways. You get an opportunity, you take it, and you run with it, right? Matt Barnes, God bless America, like Robert said, he's taken his opportunity, and so far, I didn't expect to hold Rutgers to 6 points well into the fourth quarter. I did not expect that.
Neither did I. We were talking about it last week. I was like, yeah, they're going to score 21, 20. And I'm like, dang, okay. He's stepping up. All right. I got some love for him.
Even the linebackers are looking better each week. I mean, we're finally figuring out who that rotation is. Cody Simon, obviously, I think is leading the pack, is probably the best linebacker right now. I think Steel Chambers provides a lot of great value. I wish he'd play more. Taraja Mitchell's playing steady and had a good game against Maryland. There's reasons why Dallas Gant and Pope are leaving. It's because we have some talented guys who are starting to secure their places on the field. Yep. Eichenberg's not playing as much as he was because I think guys like Simon are getting healthy finally. And I'm excited about where the linebacker room's starting to head because I'm starting to see them look better in coverage on top of that. Are you noticing that?
Yes, dude. They are. And some people will get mad about this core, like, oh, so-and-so's leaving. Well, okay, good. Wheat and the tares. We're getting rid of the crap. Like, get the guys who want to play. I don't care how big of a name you are. Get the guys who want to play. And they're flying around. They don't look slow in cover. Well, they don't look as slow in coverage. Like, it's
not as slow. Right?
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude. It's not like I could do any better out there, but it's true. These guys are out there moving. I love the linebacking play really the last 2 weeks, minus a few hiccups here and there. They've looked pretty good. I understand competition's a big part of that. They're going to have to continue to improve. But, dude, yeah.
These are the games you get better, though. This is how college football used to work. You'd play these games in the first few games of the year so you could work out the kinks and the bugs of the offseason and see what you got. And we didn't get that. We got at Minnesota and then Oregon. I mean, it's like whatever you got is what you got. Whatever you're riding with, you got to ride with.
100%. 100%.
I'm old enough to remember those cup games. Those games are almost not even worth watching, the first few games. Like, we're going to blow these teams out. We're going to look like the Hulk. And then we're going to play somebody. And all of a sudden, what's going on? Why can't we throw for 450 yards? I don't understand. So,
the SEC still kind of does that. It just is an FYI. They get their cupcake games.
Yeah. Sometimes an Auburn will play somebody in the beginning of the year or whatever, but Alabama they scheduled good teams, but they ended up not being good by the time Alabama got to them. Like Florida State, USC were just terrible. They were good when they scheduled them, but then they were people rip on Alabama. Oh, you played Florida State when they were down. They didn't know they were going to be down by then.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they scheduled them 5 years in advance, and by that time, Florida State was winning a title. I mean, it's like, what, stuff. So I hate defending Alabama, but that's just a fact. So I think it goes for Ohio State too. You end up playing. Let's say we scheduled Notre Dame. What if they stink by the time we play them? It's like,
right.
It is what it is. You did the best you could. Georgia, Texas. What if they stink by the time we play them? So,
100.
So that being said, I'm noticing linebackers looking a little better. Cody Simon, especially, is cutting off routes at times. Mitchell's finding his niche. And the defensive line's getting a little better. Are you a little worried as I am about the edge rush? I don't think the edge rush is quite what it is Ohio State standard.
What's interesting about that, Corey, is I was thinking about this whole week because we talked about it last week as well. The last time, the only time I really saw us have a great edge rush outside of Chase Young's era, right, was in the Clemson game, last year. And other than that, because that surprised me, honestly, last year, because I remember, last year we were just struggling so bad to get any rush, and all of a sudden the Clemson game we were getting mad rush on the edge. Other than that, though, if I'm being realistic, I don't recall outside of Chase Young. I don't recall a time where that's so. I'm not too worried about that. I actually think we're improving, in my personal opinion. I think we're improving in that area, but I don't really think we were that great to begin with, to be honest.
Yeah, we don't have. I mean, we were. I guess for 6 years we were a little bit spoiled with Joey, Nick, and Chase, right?
That's true. I should have said the Bosas. My bad, guys. My bad.
And I'm a little bit okay, we're coming down to earth a little bit here, because Zach Harrison. But I mean, there's a lot of hype around Harrison. Thought he would be the next Chase Young, even though he's a lot more raw than Chase Young when he came in. And I just think he's probably better off by coming back another year. He's got a long way to go still, but I don't know how much he's going to improve his draft stock even another year. But I think he's probably been our most consistent edge rusher. But JT, Tuiamaloau, and Jack are getting better all the time. And these are the guys that are going to fill into that Young and Bosa era type stage, we assume. And Tyleik Williams has become just a monster up the middle. So it's like the young gun freshmen are just coming for those guys. I mean, Haskell Garrett's going to be left all alone on there as the only veteran starting by the end of the year.
No doubt.
And Haskell Garrett, to my money, is the only veteran that's kind of kept his, he's earned his starting spot and kept it. Because I'm seeing a lot of guys. I'm like, Harrison, I love you. It's Smith, I love you. But JT and Jack are the future. And if they're playing better than you now, might as well get the future started, right?
For sure. But that's also it's so cool. If you really think about everything you're talking about right there, Corey, we got some young talent, bro. This is going to be amazing for this program. I want people to understand, we might have some hiccups for the next couple of games in this season. We never know. Maybe we'll come and hit a huge stride. But the fact of the matter is we got some young dogs out there. And that means the future of this program is super, super bright. And that's what makes me happy as a Buckeyes fan. Hey, we got a loss on the record. Who knows if we get another one? Maybe we don't, whatever. But we got some dogs, dude, which is awesome. I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. So let's finish this up with some score predictions from both of us. And by the way, put in the comments what your score prediction is going to be. I saw 162-17 out there. We got about 10 minutes before the game. We want to let you give enough time to get your snacks, get ready, get comfortable, get in front of your favorite television station, and get your favorite beverage of choice.
Diet Pepsi on the rocks.
I'm probably going with water today. Weak sauce. Anyway, that being said, Shane, what do you think the score will be, man?
Okay. I was thinking about this. I'm going to go 45-17. 45-17 final score. I think the Bucks take control, but we do pull our starters second half. So our scoring will slow down. I actually think the majority of those points come in the first half.
Okay, that's fair. We see Nick with 63-17 there. You know what? I'm going to go 55-21. I think our defense will play good. I think they'll get a late garbage touchdown. They'll make it 21. I think they'll score a couple touchdowns in between there because I think Maryland's good enough to do that. And even though Iowa held them to 14 points, I do think that we could. I do think that they can score at least 21 on us. I don't think our defense is anywhere near Iowa's at the moment. So, but I do think we can work with Stroud hitting his stride. I do think we can score on Maryland's defense pretty easily, especially if Henderson is healthy today. So 55-21. And I saw you.
Just kidding. Yeah. About that Johnny comment.
Johnny thinks we're going to lose. Oh, okay. Johnny being the pessimist as always. So guys, put it in the comment section. What do you think the score of the Maryland Ohio State game will be? And if you comment after the game, we'll know.
Yeah, let us know. Comment now. Put it in there before kickoff. And hey, remember, guys, if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button here on our channel. Like Corey said in the beginning, 3,500 subscribers by the end. Like we want to continue to build this with Buckeye Nation. And if you haven't, share it with your friends and family, man. Like share it so that we can have these fun conversations. We're going to be posting more content. We're always chatting with you guys, and we love to have you guys here for these pregame discussions. It's always a blast.
Yep, and catch us after the game for a post game. Johnny will be around. I might be with him. I might not be. We'll see what happens. But anyway, Johnny will at least be here. So, guys, thank you for joining us. As always, enjoy the game today. Enjoy your time with your family and friends more than anything. And as always, guys, goodbye. God bless, and go Bucks.